Hello one and all, welcome back to ArcheAge Inspiration. My name is Cilantro. Today's rolls are 2, 4, and 9. So that will make us Defense, Sorcery, and Shadow Play. This is a Swiftstone. Interestingly enough, this is somewhat similar to a build that I've been using in my own personal time, which is Defense Witchcraft and Shadow Play, which is the Shadow Knight. So I might try to make this build based off of that. We'll see. Let's figure it out. So here's what I have for the Swiftstone. This is a pretty straightforward build, and like I had mentioned previously, it's fairly similar to how a Shadow Knight operates, but with a little bit more of an emphasis on strictly doing most of your damage through magic. I would highly recommend getting yourself an Obsidian Katana if you decide to play a class like this when they become available, which I believe is towards the end of February. The Obsidian weapons have actual comparable, like decent weapon DPS while also remaining caster weapons, allowing for hybridization to be a lot easier for a class that does both melee and spells. In the meantime, we've got the standard defense package. Shield Slam Bull Rush always provides good close range crowd control. Refreshment plus Bolts for Roar gives you extra health and a little bit of damage from that. Invincibility and Readout are very solid defensive abilities. Do note that Readout and Insulating Lens have a slight amount of overlap in that they both make you immune to trip. However, this lasts a lot longer, Readout, and Insulating Lens will fall off after absorbing 2,049 damage. Thankfully, that is boosting your mitigation overall anyway, because of the extra physical defense. You could very easily play this with either cloth or plate, if you wish. If you do go for cloth, you can always pick up Shield of Steel, which will help supplement your physical defense quite a bit. Being that this does involve using a few shield passives, I would highly recommend that you use a Scepter and Shield. As I had mentioned, the shield will, of course, be a big boost to your defense. I really got to get this up to tier 3. Providing you with a lot more tankiness. If you really wish, you could drop some of the defensive package for a little bit more damage out of sorcery, maybe some extra passives, and switch over to a staff, but I feel like missing out on Shield Slam Bull Rush is just, it's too much to give up. Shadow Play brings some extra maneuverability and damage by means of Stalker's Mark. Overwhelm allows us to close gaps if we wish, in addition to inflicting a stun or trip, depending on if you have hit somebody with Stalker's Mark. Stealth, of course, always good for PvP in any situation. Drop Back, Shadow Step, and Free Runner all give extra move speed or other maneuverability options. Free Runner and Readout have some interesting pseudo-synergy. Free Runner gives you a boost to move speed, 35%, whereas Readout actually gives you a move speed penalty. So using both of these in tandem can actually retain your maneuverability while also giving you the extra block rate that Readout provides. As far as the damage package here for sorcery, we've got some pretty standard stuff. Magic range boost, always useful. Critical rate, extra damage from sorcery. We could grab Mana Flurry, but without any other synergies with cast time, it's not a huge deal. And of course, there's some mana passives that if we felt we needed them, we could go for them. Standard damage stuff here. Flame Bolt, Freezing Arrow, always a good combination. Cheap on mana, spammable, high damage. Good spells all in all. We already mentioned Insulating Lens, and of course we have Magic Circle, which is quite capable for a buff spell as well. And then Arc Lightning and Chain Lightning round out our damage suite, in addition to Freezing Earth and Flame Barrier. I chose not to get Meteor just because of the intention that this build is a little bit more mobile. In fact, Magic Circle may not even be really that great for you in a lot of situations because you're not going to be standing around too much. With all the escape and approach abilities you have in Shadow Play, in addition to the close range effectiveness in defense, you can actually use this build as a pseudo-initiator for a fight of 3 or 4 people. You can either overwhelm in or shadow step in or even just run in with Free Runner and possibly Readout active. When you get close, you can start firing off a lot of high damage spells, Chain Lightning, Freezing Earth, Flame Barrier, all good for crowd control and damage. And then you can use your survivability abilities and crowd control, Shield Slam and Bull Rush, and then possibly even overwhelming somebody if you need to ensure that you survive. And as always, you have invincibility to fall back upon. So a good damage suite here with Sorcery. Sorcery by itself is a very good vacuum ability. Sorcery is very self-contained, meaning that all of its good synergies are with itself, and you don't really need a lot of things to support Sorcery to make it effective. Cultism and Witchcraft are natural pairs with it, but by itself, it still does a phenomenal amount of damage and has a moderate amount of crowd control. The stuns from, or the slows rather, from Flame Barrier and Freezing Earth are quite potent. Otherwise, maneuverability from Shadowplay and tankiness from defense makes this a pretty well-rounded build. Can't really think of anything that's too particularly outstanding as far as a downside. Again, your gearing options involve, I would say, lake equipment, either lake plate or lake cloth. I do not have a lake cloth set, but I did buy a very cheap lake plate set, mostly just for grinding purposes. I don't really see a huge need to actually show this build off. Most of these are really straightforward combinations. There's no fancy combos here. Defense combos well with itself, Shadowplay combos well with itself, and Sorcery combos well with itself. So it's really 3 trees that exist in a vacuum within each other, but they all provide you with different options. Defense for tankiness and CC, Shadowplay for maneuverability, and Sorcery for raw damage. So that's the Swiftstone. Actually, surprisingly versatile package of abilities. Hopefully this was a little insightful for you, and I'll see you next time on ArcheAge Inspiration.